Hi, America from my phone, and welcome to another video. Today we are diving into an artist I have yet to hear from, and that is Jenny Hval with her album, The Practice of Love. This is an 8-song project that has consistent features from Laura Jean, Vivian, Wang, and Félicia Atkinson. I don't know who any of these people are. I don't really know the genre of this. I do not really know much at all. I'm going in completely blind. But there's something absolutely liberating of having no expectations and no prior knowledge to an artist. I feel like it helps me really just take the album for what it is. This video is also special because one of my good friends, Maxwell, will be editing it for me, so I appreciate that kindly. So if it looks a little different, cut him some slack. It's not like my editing game is flawless anyway. And if it looks better, that's because of him, not because of me. But anyway, I am just so excited to get into this reaction, so thank you for requesting this video, and anyway, let's just get into it. Track number 1 is Lions, featuring Vivian Wang. Ooh, I like that percussive hit to start off.
Look at these trees.
Look at these trees. Okay.
Look at those clouds.
Look at those clouds.
And look at them now.
Look at them now and look at them now. Okay. Look at them now.
Take a closer look.
Take a closer look.
Study the raindrops on the leaves. Study the ground.
Study the ground.
Porous topsoil. Study this and ask yourself, where is God?
Study this and ask, where is God?
This place.
Ooh, I like how we've added some more percussion here.
The no man's land.
This is a no man's land.
This is a pagan song.
It's whispering a pagan song. I think we're just kind of immersing ourselves in this sonic landscape. Oh, that's an exciting way to fade out. So that was Lions, and what a way to start off this album. Vivian is the one who is speaking, where I think Jenny is the one who's actually singing in the background. And this song is really just getting us into the headspace of look around nature and then realize that this is not in the same way of religion and spirituality and stuff like that. It's not based in the Holy Scriptures. Nature isn't. Nature is just this untamed, this very non-human focused space. And I think the title Lions is about, within her mind, Jenny's mind, her thoughts are untamed like lions. And so that's a really interesting sentiment. I kind of, halfway through, they started having the big speaking moment, and they started just letting us vibe with the sonic production. The sonic production was awesome, and I really liked it. And so I just let it immerse me in it, and I felt like I was getting just sucked into this world, and I'm really excited to see where the world takes us next. Track number 2 is Hi Alice. Okay, I'm glad we're keeping this percussive game alive.
She took a long rest.
She took a long rest. Strange feelings. They must be drawn to something.
She reaches back,
Let her sketch out her rabbit hole. Through centuries. Oh, was that like some wind instrument? I like how her voice goes right along with that instrument. Ooh, sounds like a flute mixed with the piano.
The beautiful queen, the beautiful clock.
Beautiful queen, the beautiful clock. Is this about Alice in Wonderland? I want something better. We all want something better, making it a whole group mentality. Ooh, she's whispering Alice. So that was Hi Alice, and ooh, I feel like we got even more into this album. The song sonically just gets me moving and grooving. Similar to Lions, I feel like both of those songs, when they start bringing in that production, it's the type of production that you just want to keep going on forever, and you could listen to like a 10-minute version of it and it wouldn't get old. It's just that type of movement within the rhythm section, as well as just, I guess, with the synths and the other instruments implemented here. It's just something that keeps you going, like the repetition of the "we all want something better." I don't know, it gives me almost like an electronic version of a gospel song where you can just like feel the energy, it moves, that flows through you. Almost like a drum circle too, I also think in those terms of just these ways of having a song jam out. I feel like I'm jamming right now, even though this is going to be a rather concise album with only 8 songs and 33 minutes. It still is just gonna keep us moving, and it makes me want to not stop and talk to you because I just want to keep seeing where this album is going. Lyrically, this song takes inspiration from Alice in Wonderland, and it seems that Alice is in an altered state in this current fan fiction that's being written. But also just in terms of our escapist mentality of trying to design our own rabbit hole, our own pleasure dome, just trying to figure out like a way to escape from our current reality. And that we all do want something better, but sometimes what we think is real and what we really are willing to exist is just not going to happen. That's my general sense on it. Because Jenny Hval is not a big name artist, there's not a ton of analysis in Genius lyrics and other stuff. So sometimes I will be coming up with my own interpretations based on some lyrics that I'm finding. So if you have more context about that, and this goes for not only this song, but any of the songs on this album, please let me know, because I would love to be corrected. I would love to be enlightened. I would love to gain a deeper understanding, appreciation, and knowledge of this work. Track number 3 is Accident, featuring Laura Jean.
Once she was a mystery of life.
When she was a mystery of life.
As she escaped, she found a stretch on creek.
I just hear her say Airbnb.
I was just
Oh, I thought there was going to be a bigger drop there, but still is a cool build. I was just an accident? Are you talking about like being born? Ooh, did you hear that noise? It stopped, but it was going. Ooh. I love that. Yes, okay. Pump it up in the club being an accident. Ooh, the doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah, that sounds lovely in the song. This almost sounds like hyperpop. I don't know if you'd put it in this genre, but it is really cool. I always love when you have like a more speaking part and then going into singing. I see that it's a trend on this album. So that was Accident, and that was a very pretty song. I really liked the pretty part. I like the let's go or hyping it up part. Yeah, it gets fast and driven, and I love when a song speeds up based on the emotion in the piece. This song is about her or the speaker. I don't know if Jenny Hval likes to write about her own personal experiences or if she likes to put characters in as the speakers, but the speaker in the song talks about being an accident and that she was conceived unintentionally. She was then born, of course, because otherwise she wouldn't be able to sing this song if she wasn't with us. And yeah, so it's about that, and then it's also, I think, about her getting older and making the decision to not have kids. I don't know if it's a personal decision or if it's something that she's not able to do. Regardless, it's her business, not mine. So whatever she does, and whatever she doesn't, she doesn't. That's on her. And I think she is just trying to decrease the stigma around whether or not you have kids, because we as a society tend to emphasize, oh, you need to do this for future generations, pass this on to your kids, etc. And so when we emphasize passing things on to the next generation or aging in a way that is us caring for our own personal children, we tend to make people who don't end up having kids for one reason or another, they end up being more side characters. But if we actually let these people who have been treated as side characters get to have their own important journeys, then there's something really, I don't know, special and compelling about that, about how you don't have to necessarily live life for the next person, not in a way that's like unsustainable or anything and selfish, but just in the way of living not necessarily just to procreate and just to rear a child and rear the future. The present can be rather important, and I understand where she's coming from with that. As someone who hasn't figured out whether or not they want kids yet, I'm ambivalent. I know that's a controversial take in itself, but I think it's a big decision and you don't want to half-hearted do something. So I think it's really important, especially for me. I'm not going to do that by myself. I'm not going to have a kid by myself. I'm not going to be a single parent. That sounds like a horrible idea. So I think it's important to remember that there's a lot of factors that go into having kids, whether you have a stable partner, whether you can afford it financially, whether you can afford it emotionally. There's a lot that goes into it. And sometimes it just ain't it. And there's nothing shameful about that. And there shouldn't be anything shameful about that, because at the end of the day, people get to live their lives. And if it doesn't hurt you or themselves, why do you care? Sorry, that was me getting on my little soapbox, but the song is good. I like it. I wouldn't say I relate to it a ton necessarily, because I wasn't in an accident. I had 2 moms, so it's kind of impossible for me to be an accident. But this does continue the work that seems, I don't know, invigorating. I get enticed and engaged with this album. And even though I am dead tired, I'm vibing and I'm grooving and I want to dance to it. And I don't know if I have the energy to dance to it, but just the fact that it's making me want to is a really good start. Track number 4 is The Practice of Love, featuring Laura Jean and Vivian Wang, and it is the title track. And so we're going to hear the featured artists that we've already heard so far, at least on one other song.
As I inhale and feel my lungs fill up with black breath to exhale, I wanted to write to you about love.
I wanted to write to you about love. I hate love.
Language. The word love comes in the way of love. It makes me want to say sorry.
The word love comes in the way of
Sorry with
love.
black breath. Maybe sorry is the closest I ever got to expressing love.
Maybe sorry is the closest way I got to expressing
Honestly,
love.
is lying on top of love, sucking the blood out of it. Every time I wanted to increase something.
Yeah, but
I feel like there's multiple people talking right now, but I can't get all of that.
yeah, so it's like everyone, I'm still hanging on to that a little bit, but
I'm still hanging on a little bit to that.
I've done some writing about someone who's in their late 30s that doesn't have a child. It's
Someone in their late 30s who doesn't have a child,
accept
so
that
recurring theme.
I'm part of this human ecosystem, but I'm not the princess and I'm not the main character.
I'm not the main character.
Characters are
Oh.
the people that have kids because they
Yeah, you're explaining what I was just talking about an accident.
I'm a supporting character, and that's a hard thing for my ego to take.
I'm the supporting character, and that's hard for my ego to take. So that was The Practice of Love, and ooh, this is a spoken word with a little bit of music. It was quite interesting. and definitely will sound better in headphones because these words were mixed together and it's hard for my speaker to deal with all that. So it did what it could, but I think in headphones, I'm sure it'll pan and do a lot of other stuff that's like gonna be really cool. The two parts include this film reading that Vivian Wang is reciting, but I think Jenny is the one who wrote it. And it's about how the word for love in Norwegian, which is where Jenny Hval is from, contains the word honesty within it, which is very interesting linguistically, but apparently it's not intended to be that way. They're different roots, but that is very interesting that the word for love in Norwegian contains the entire word for honesty within it. And almost how in English she contains the word he or woman contains the word man, it's very interesting to have its opposite represented within it. Or not necessarily the opposite, because, you know, F the binary, but the sense that love could almost sound like dishonesty, or that you have to have honesty in love. I don't know. I don't exactly know what she's getting at, but it was a very interesting thought. She also was apparently saying of corpse instead of a course for a while so that she could insert death into a lot of various conversations, and all right, you do you. But then the other conversation is something that really fits with Accident, in that she's talking about how she's not a main character in the human experience because she's not having kids, and she's trying to figure out if she's the talking tree or the witch. Laura Jean suggests maybe she's the antagonist, but she says that the antagonist is important for survival of the protagonist or the main character because it makes them stronger. And I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, she has a very nuanced view of the world and a very interesting view of the world. I would love to have a conversation with her because I feel like we would get to some interesting debates and conversations. So Jenny, if you do see this, I would love to talk to you. Overall, this was a great song. I don't know if I'd call it a song. It's more of an interlude that does have music and spoken word, but it's mainly, in my head, a really cool arrangement of spoken word to tell a story. I probably wouldn't listen to this if I was listening to individual songs outside of the album, but as a whole album part, I would definitely listen to it within it because it does really clearly get to some of the thesis matters of this project. Track number 5 is Ashes to Ashes. Ooh, we are very slow. Even the groove was filled with sadness. Okay. So, I know it's filled with sadness, but this is a groove. Burying someone's ashes and then having a cigarette. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Ooh, I love that. I'm obsessed with this percussive landscape. Like you're kicking feet underwater. Ooh, it feels like something's coming in. It's very glistening. Oh, sudden fade out. So that was Ashes to Ashes, and that was a very interesting song. The percussive landscape was incredible. Loved that so much. Her voice in it, I don't know, there was some filtering on it that I don't know if I quite liked. I think I need to hear that again before I can say if sonically I vibed with the song. But percussive wise, oh my god. I just love the landscape she creates with it. The song's lyrically seems to be about connecting art to being unalive, and about how when you're a musician, you are potentially just digging your own grave when you are trying to get to your inner truth. Not just in a musician way, but just as you start investigating and interrogating yourself and how you feel about certain things. You start realizing that you're not necessarily the flawless, unfractured person you may think you are at some points. And that's terrifying. That's a lot. Yeah, it makes you very vulnerable. And I know it can be hard because it's something that I go through too. And wow, yeah, I related to that. She also talks about how she dreamt of a song that she had written, but it had not been written yet. And that was very interesting because she also compared it to when in your dream you were intimate and it was before you even knew how to be intimate. And I think that was a very interesting comparison because I surely have dreamt of songs that I had not come up with before. And now there's songs I'm working on now that initially entirely started within a dream. And they're very interesting and they've turned out to be some of the songs I'm most excited to work on, but also can relate to the latter point as well. I don't think it's an essential part of the human experience. I know many people who have never had that experience, and that is totally okay. You're 100% valid, and I'm glad that you're watching this video if you are one of those people. I feel like this song gave me an overall experience that was immensely relatable, quite existential, and at least percussively a bop. We're still figuring it out whether we want to listen to this song regularly. It kind of gives off Bjork energy in that she takes time to enunciate and there's some filtering that happens. Not that Bjork really filters a ton, but Bjork just has a very distinct voice. In that, I don't know how well the vocals necessarily mix with the percussion. We gotta listen to it again before we really figure that out. Track number 6 is Thumbsucker featuring Félicia Atkinson. Okay, we're starting with, is this boat horns? I see you do take some cues from Bjork. Oh, there was like this building part in the background. It's not here anymore, but I have a feeling it's gonna come back. I was a thumbsucker, what do I know? Oh, there's some voice over, like muffled vocals. Her enunciation in here is not as clear. Internal construction? Sucking on the church bells? What? Back into the rabbit hole, a nod to Hi Alice. Ooh. We're having a little fun outro. So that was Thumbsucker, and that was a very interesting song. It definitely was a little more on the chiller side, instrumentally. I'd say there's still a lot going on, it just is overall a mellower track. Lyrically, the song is also interesting because she's thinking about the general struggle of young people as well as animals to try to fit into spaces. How a lot of the dogs she had growing up would try to fit into the smallest space possible and then just sleep there. And then definitely there's that adolescent feeling of trying to fit in and find a sense of belonging. It's in Maslow's hierarchy of needs for a reason. With this general struggle to find your place and belong and feel connected. And I think that relates to this overall theme of, when she's saying an accident, oh, like being childless, I feel cast out, like I am separate, I'm not connected, I don't belong in this human story, at least as a main character. And so I think this is very much an interesting song. It definitely makes me think. I think also about a cat I knew that would go to the back of the desk, like they climb into one of the desk drawers and then climb outside of the desk or on the other side, and then when you try to close that drawer, he'd meow because he doesn't want to get squished. But I'm like, why are you back there? What's that for? I get the metaphor, at least in what she's saying in Jeannie's lyrics. I don't think that's in the lyrics themselves. There's a lot of metaphors happening, sucking on church bells. I don't know, maybe that's just trying to belong within religion. That would make sense to me. But yeah, there's a lot to unpack in this song that I do not have the ability to do that right now. But it is a very interesting song, and it's definitely a song I want to revisit when I have more energy, and also just as I'm listening to this album more. Track number 7 is Six Red Cannas, and it features Vivian, Wang, Félicia, Atkinson, and Lara Jean. We have the whole gang of all the featured artists here so far, and I am excited to see how they all blend together to make one song.
Red cannas in the sky.
Red Cannas in the sky?
Red cannas in the sky.
I don't think I know what a cannon is. I like this sound going. Oh, I like this. Jenny Hval, you are pretty great at producing. I feel like I could scooter to this quite nicely. 1927? Why did you whisper that? Oh, 1946, there is a lot of years being listed. I wonder what all those years are about. 1999, hey! Six Red Cannas, I still don't know what that is. Oh, we switched it up. We're having another moment where we're just getting engulfed in production now. Absolutely no complaints on that, but I have no idea what's going on. So that was Six Red Cannas, and there's a lot going on in this song. When you have all 4 collaborators in it, it makes sense. Cannas are apparently this red flower that are a type of lily, I think. And so that's cool. I like flowers. Apparently this song has a lot of inspiration to Georgia O'Keeffe, an artist I love. I feel like I was exposed to her at a young age and then didn't realize all of her significance at the time. I think I just was like, oh, this is Georgia O'Keeffe. I was very good at identifying whether a painting is Georgia O'Keeffe, whether it has the cow skull or it has a flower, and if anything looks like a private part of a woman, it might be her. But she's a wonderful artist. I feel like in elementary school, I had multiple times where we got to do art that was inspired by her, which is really cool. I'm glad that she does get a lot of recognition. I wish she gets more, but I think especially within 1900s art, I feel like she does get a lot of recognition. And so I'm excited that they are celebrating her here. But she's talking about, I guess, these generations of female artists. She mentions Joni Mitchell writing a song about Amelia Earhart. So these women across generations, there's only a slight overlap, I think 6 years, where Jenny Hval and Georgia O'Keeffe are alive at the same time. And so that's so interesting, connecting with someone so deeply or so inspirationally, even though you're in completely different generations. You barely were alive during the same time, but still feeling such a strong connection. I think that's really cool and it's very powerful. And it's almost like in place of having a kid or having a descendant, you're having this connection with people who you feel you're very connected to. And yeah, I think that's really interesting, and it's something I would want to think about further. There's also this ending part where she says we all were originally like underwater, something like that. And that could either be a reference to the fact that we were all, born, and so when we were in the uterus, we were underwater per se, or it could be to the fact of how, geologically speaking, we've been underwater at times in human history. And so she thinks so much within the grand scale of human existence. It's wild, especially considering how she alternates between thinking like, oh, well, I'm not really doing much to the course of human history, but then she's talking so much about, like, I was a thumbsucker when I was younger, or this woman completely changed the course of my existence. It's just so interesting how deeply she thinks about life. I think that's probably what spawns those crises of I'm not the main character in the human history thing, because she's thinking so existentially about it all. I think her music becomes more relatable, even though we don't really have a ton in common as people. She's a woman in her early 40s now. I am a guy in my early 20s. We don't have a ton of overlap, but we all were living underwater at some point, weren't we? And I think she thinks so much about the general human experience that I think it allows you that even if you weren't a thumbsucker or you weren't engaged in the practices of religion or you weren't a musician who had a dream of a song that hadn't been written yet, that even if you hadn't had those experiences, you feel connected to this music in some way. And even though this music is also very specific in terms of its production, I think it's very synthy and it's very electronic and it's very quite a lot at times. I vibe with it not just because I like that type of music, but I think in general it's talking about the whole human experience in a timeless way, even if the production is not necessarily timeless. It might be timeless for me and you, but it might not be timeless in terms of the trends of music. I don't know what her previous work before this or her current work actually is, because I know there's an album that came out in 2022. So I don't really know if there is a similar sound within each of her projects or if it's different each time. I have no clue. I hope to find out though. That sounded like we had reached the end of the album, but we have not. We have one last song, and that is Ordinary, which features Vivian, Wang, and Félicia Atkinson. Looks like Laura Jean dipped a little early. We're sad to see her go, but I'm still glad that we have one more song left with us. Oh. Ooh, humming vibes. She's whispering something to us, but I can't tell what it is. Dissertation on Love? Ooh, a reference to Practice of Love title track. Is she giggling? Ooh, I can feel we got some dinglings. I'm a percussionist, I should know better, but it's not coming to my head. Oh, we're gonna get a finale, aren't we? Oh, I think she said ordinary. The ordinary. Oh. Yes. Let's build it. I like how they're singing ordinary. Is it just me or is it slowing down a little bit? I can't really hear what she's saying. What? I really want to know what she said. So that was Ordinary, and what a way to finish off this album. That was over 5 minutes, but really just, wow. That was a great way to end. Sonically, I love the trend that Jenny and her collaborators love to use on these songs, where they start off slow and then they start becoming a bop. And I love it when it bopifies. I kind of like how it does start off slow though, so that it doesn't feel like it's just a bop the whole time. I like that we build somewhere, that the songs evolve over time. And there's a song that I'm writing that is actually coincidentally the same one that I heard in my dream originally, that starts off slow and then it changes tempo entirely. And there's something really cool about that. There's something really exciting that comes from a song that shifts its tone midway through. This song seems to be about how love and how our experiences mold us. One of the biggest images in this song is that when you have a wedding ring and you take off that wedding ring because of divorce or whatever, that indentation could still be there, and depending on how long you were married, it could be there for a really long time or forever. And how our skin just in general tells stories. It's so interesting. Like, I still have like a slight reddening from when I fell off my scooter, and now that was last month, so it's not like it looks like it'll be a scar, but it could be. Or for example, this wart that no matter what I do, I keep trying to get rid of it, but it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back in different ways each time. So even it documents the process of me trying to get rid of it, which is so interesting to think about. Annoying, but still rather fascinating. I also think the song sounds very beautiful, and I don't know, it makes this talk of the ordinary just so fascinating. And the last lines that are spoken are very haunting. It's, we don't always get to choose when we're close and when we're not. So essentially, this person in your life that you married and then divorced, that mark is still there, and you don't get to choose whether or not it goes away necessarily. And you could theoretically want to forget that person ever existed, but that might be something that you still remember. There's also that friends close, enemies closer, that also people that wrong you, especially if they were friends or lovers or something like that before, those are going to leave some deep scars. And you don't necessarily always get to choose whether or not that person is still in your life, is still in your mind, and still in your memory, still in the actions that you do with other people. Yeah, trauma exists, and actions can have consequences that last far longer than any of the actions ever thought possible. Again, yet another existential crisis from Jenny. Thank you. With that said, we have finished this album, and I have to say, even though this is a 33-minute album, ooh, there was a lot to unpack. I think it still took me a normal amount of time to react to this album, where it's probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Oh my gosh, it was intense. There's a lot of existential themes, but it is some beautiful music. I definitely can see me listening to this album, especially that it is brief, but does get you into some existential crises. There's a lot of thoughts, and there's more stuff that I think I'll be able to pick out when I'm listening to it more. And yeah, I really love this feeling of telling a story with each song, and how it starts off slow and then it moves into something fast. I think she has a lot of insight to give me that I haven't thought about, or I've thought about but haven't verbalized it into words yet, because a lot of my feelings are colors with synesthesia, and a lot of thoughts I have are just feelings. So in exchange, they're also colors. And so sometimes you don't always know how to verbalize everything and put into words how you feel. And I think there's been times where I've been told to not feel, conceal, don't feel. Well, now they know, let it go. I'm so sorry, that was way too cheesy and had no place in this reaction. However, I love it, and my editor, Maxwell, is a big Frozen fan. Shout out to you for editing this. But yeah, I enjoyed this project. I'm excited to listen to it again, and I would love to listen to more Jenny Hval with y'all. I don't really know what contributions were hers versus her collaborators at times. I do know, obviously, that Ashes to Ashes and Hi Alice were just both her being credited, so I assume those are predominantly her, if not entirely her. But I would love to know more about these other artists that she chose to collaborate with on multiple songs, just so I understand their backgrounds as well, if there's someone who I should be looking into, if some of my favorite songs tend to be the ones that happen to be with these featured collaborators, and maybe it's the collaborator that is bringing that expertise, or maybe it is more Jenny knowing that these people will be great at doing these things and then kind of asking them for help. I think it's a gorgeous, concise project that I think really gets at the heart of what it's trying to go for, which is talking about love in an existential way and thinking about herself in the grand human experience and thinking about everyone else in the grand human experience. There's a lot, and I definitely only scratched the surface. If you like this video, please like it, comment down below what you'd like me to react to or do next on my channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you'd like to be, and thanks for watching. This is TurtleStormer. Catch you later. Get out of the zone.